Hi, this is Travis in the Uncanny Valley. I'm going to talk about mirroring. Um, so I looked up because that's the way I've been describing what I have done for my life. But I looked up the term mirroring to see if it's a thing because I don't want to be describing uh, something based on a word I ascribed to it when if it already has a uh, a definition, and it does have a definition. Um, so it's a thing. And I remember vaguely hearing about this before, how you can use it to reflect people's mannerisms and stuff back to them. Uh, like, here's an article on how to do it, how to do it to get better tips, how to do it to do better in a job interview. And there's just, wow, there's a lot there. But yeah, mirroring non-verbally, how to eye contact, nodding your head, mirroring verbally, matching their pace and volume. Okay, that's not really exactly what I do. But the Wikipedia definition, however, it says mirroring is the behavior in which one person subconsciously imitates the gesture, speech pattern, or attitude of another. Mirroring often occurs in social situations, particularly in the company of close friends or family, often going unnoticed by both parties. So that is uh, largely no. Okay, it's the unconscious part or subconsciously. Yes, that's been what it was, but it does not go unnoticed most of the time. Uh, I'll start with the mild version that I do. So if I'm in a conversation with someone, um, in a social setting, um, I'm not going to be able to keep up because it's highly unlikely we have the same interests, and so I'm more than happy to uh, go through this with them. Do the conversation, uh, but they're gonna invariably use a figure of speech or a grouping of words or a phrase or make a reference to something that I don't know what they're talking about, and they might say blah 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 blah, to which I would reply blah 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 blah. They will correctly infer that that portion of what they said needs expanding or an explanation. So that is the mild version. Um, I've done this so much. Like I just, it's a. Mm. Anyways, okay. So an example uh, of doing this a different way, a very different way, was when I was in high school, and we had a health teacher, and he was less than enthused to be a teacher, let alone a health teacher. He would come into class or back into class from his smoke break and uh, just, you know, we're just sitting there, usually with not much to do. And he would just yell, "Shut up! Everyone shut up!" And something like that. And then he would just call us all clowns or pick on maybe a particular student and call them a clown or a bozo or things like that. Just it seemed more than anything, it seemed like a persona. Um, but one time, anyways, I never took too much issue with that because he was a jerk. But like those were sentences, those were declarative sentences. Shut up. One time though, he got more annoyed than normal. He might have already yelled "shut up." I don't remember, but he looked in my direction at a couple people that were talking in front of me, and he yelled at them, "Why don't you shut up?" And so something snapped in my little brain, and I thought, well, that's not how this goes, though, right? Like you don't just. So, anyways, I thought, well, there's a here's a good opportunity for me to find out how this dynamic is evolving. So I asked him. I said, "Why don't you shut up?" And he did not appreciate that response, and he uh, indicated that I should get my things, and he was going to take me to the principal's office, and um, it he tried to escalate it into a physical confrontation. But anyways, it didn't go terribly. But like, that was the fact that I take things literally, um, and that was literally a question. Why don't you shut up? But it was what I was doing in response to taking it literally was mirroring it. So I was mirroring it back to him so that I could explore this social dynamic of, why don't we all shut up? Let's see how fair it is for us to yell, "Why don't you shut up?" at each other. Um, I don't condone this, but either party yelling that at each other. Um, but that was okay. So that's a very, very, very small portion of how I've used mirroring. And since that kind of stands out in my mind, it kind of makes other things around that time kind of hard to see. But unfortunately, another way that I've used mirroring uh, is because I have a very dry sense of humor. So there's been times where I've been driving a vehicle and I took a turn or did something uh, normal to me, uh, benign, and uh, the person in the passenger seat would grab the dash. And unfortunately, uh, my first thought wasn't that, oh, they feel genuinely uh, unsafe. You should see if they feel genuinely unsafe, and explore that. Unfortunately, my first thought was, having a dry sense of humor myself, was that this was a very dry delivery of a thing. And that, coupled with thinking, oh, they're mocking my driving, they're criticizing my driving, and mocking it by acting like I'm doing something dangerous. And unfortunately, my response was to take what I thought was mocking and add that to my mirroring. So I didn't just have a dry delivery of that back. I did an exaggerated mocking version of that back, not realizing at the time that it was a genuine uh, concern. And mm, yeah, I mean, how damaging is that? And mm. So there's been a range. I would say, now that I've thought about it, like, the number of instances, it's probably like 90% is the stuff in normal conversations, and you know, a few percent are the unhealthy outliers. Um, but anyways, I'm doing this so I can learn. So what I've realized is that I am doing it, so that I am mirroring people for a wide range of reasons. Um, but that the first thing I'm doing is that I'm reacting. So whenever I don't understand something, what I'm trying to do now is to just stop, and instead of mirroring in one way or another, which is for me a very reactive thing, um, and I just use like math. So like, like, it's a very mild thing in a mild situation, and it's an aggressive thing in an aggressive situation, and it's a mocking thing in what I perceive to be a mocking situation. And it was just reactive, simple math, and it was none of it was the best way to deal with that situation. So even in the mild ones, well, I'll just say all of them. Like, in situations, I'm trying to stop and not react, and instead respond in the situation and respond with a relevant question, um, and just say, like, if someone says something that I don't know the phrase, or I don't know what the words they're saying mean, just saying, uh, I'm not familiar with that. What do you mean? Or is that a figure of speech? Or is that, uh, I don't know the context for what you're saying. I mean, it's as simple as, like, when a kid wants a glass of water and they just say, water, holding their cup up. And you're like, well, okay, but how do we ask? Or how do you ask? And they might just say, please. It's like, well, water, please is not how you ask. I mean, that's good. You're going in the right direction. But what do you say? It says, can I have a water, please? Or will you get me a water, please? And it's like, that's good. So I'm trying to do that. I'm trying to shift away from just the very, uh, the thing that requires the other person to infer that I'm asking a question, to actually just verbalizing the question. So that forces me to be more present. It forces me to form the question, to form the sentence, and that's invariably going to be healthier, and has been healthier, um, than the reactive things that I was doing. I was, yeah, I mean, it was just a really, really bad coping mechanism for not understanding something, and I'd use it for humor a lot too. Um, I'll have to really explore that separately. Yeah, so there's that.